Am I the idiot for breaking up my engagement because of what my fiancé said about my mom? I, female 26, am not from the USA, so I might have some grammatical errors. So, my dad left my mom and I when I was only 5 years old. I also have a brother, 21 male. He left the country with his mistress and never tried to contact. We were really poor. My mom had to do some immoral stuff to get food on the table. She was a stripper and also sometimes pleased men to get money for us. She put me and my brother through school. I understood why my mom did what she did because we had no money, and she wanted us to have a life better than ours. And I am not ashamed because of it. I also started working part-time when I was 14. I was a good student, so I got a scholarship to a good university. My mom eventually stopped stripping when my brother got a part-time job too. She now only works as a waitress. I met my fiancé, Javi, male 27, in college. This was my first serious relationship. We both loved each other. I never told Javi about my mom's past because my mom made me promise to never say that to anyone. I kept that, but it felt so wrong to keep this huge information away from my fiancé. Javi knew about us. He only knew that my family was extremely poor. He doesn't care about that. He is a very sweet guy who always takes care of me. He even covered some of the cost of my brother's education as well, even though I told him not to. My mom also likes him. That's why she told me not to tell Javi anything about her past or what she did for a living. So, a week ago, my mom and I went to Javi's house to meet his parents. I didn't realize his uncle and aunt would also be there. Upon seeing his uncle, my mom's face went white as if she saw a ghost. His uncle also kept staring at my mom as if he knew her. My mom felt uncomfortable and said that she wants to go home. Javi was confused by it. But nonetheless, we left earlier than we anticipated. The next day, my fiancé came to our place and shouted at me that I lied to him. He said that I am a gold digger just like my mother, and my mother is the reason why his uncle's first marriage broke. I asked him to explain what the hell he was talking about. He said that his uncle knew my mom because he was a regular customer of her and often hired her for her services. His wife caught them red-handed and immediately filed for divorce. My mom was crying and said that she didn't know he was married. She never asks men about their marital status. I told him that he has no right to speak to my mom like that, and his uncle was fully to blame because he was a married man who was hiring escorts for himself. My mom has no obligation towards his marriage. Javi still blamed me and mom and said that he felt deceived. He said to my face that he doesn't want to date a whore's daughter, because I will probably invite men just like my mom. My mom had to beg him to not break the engagement. I am tired. If I do end up marrying him, my mom would always have to suffer because of it. I didn't want that, so I gave him back his engagement ring and told him to never show his face. My mom is angry because she thinks this is my only chance to get married because no other guy would marry into a family where the mom works as a sex worker. But I think I did the right thing because I am not ashamed of my mom. I didn't even want to hide it in the first place. I wanted to tell him the truth, but my mom refused it. So, am I the idiot? Edit. I need to clear things out a bit. Javi knows everything about my life. He knows my dad fled the country, and we had to live in poverty because of it. He knows my mom got pregnant way too young. I did give him hints that my mom had to do shady things to get by. He probably thought my mom stole things. But I didn't disclose that she was a sex worker. I wanted to tell him, but my mom said not to because she doesn't want this to escalate. Also, I never asked Javi to pay for my brother's education. He did it from the goodwill of his heart. I promised to pay him back. I am not after his money. I do love him a lot. Even though we are broken up now, I still miss him. We have been together for 6 years. It is not easy to throw away those 6 years just like that. Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. But boy, your ex sure is. You dodged a bullet getting rid of him. You will find the right person for you. Give your mom a hug and be happy you aren't marrying into that awful family. Then the original poster responded with, I know that. And I understand why he is upset. Sex work is heavily criticized in my country to the point even doctors refuses to treat them. I understand his family's stigma, especially because his uncle was caught with my mom. So, they have a reason to hate her. I hope that he would be a little bit understanding about our situation. If my mom didn't start working as a stripper, she would have never been able to send us to school or college. I did love him a lot. Comment 2. If a man on a diet walks into a donut shop and orders a dozen donuts, who broke the diet? The man or the donut seller? His uncle went to her. His uncle knew about his wife. His uncle also outed her to your fiancé, who was too thick in the head to stop and say, "Wait, why does uncle know that, not the idiot?" You will find someone who understands and will appreciate the sacrifice your mother made to keep you and your brother alive. Then the original poster responded with, "Javi knows what his uncle did. His uncle had sex addiction, so he hired mom often. I am sure my mom is not the only escort he hired. There were many. But I don't think my mom should be blamed for his uncle's mistake. She is required to give services to anyone who hires her." Now for the update. Hi everyone. I wanted to say thank you so much for your support. I never thought I would get so much support from strangers than people from my own community. I was, however, expecting a lot of hate towards my mom considering her profession, but it is less than what I expected. I don't know if this qualifies as a proper update, but there have been few changes. After I broke the engagement, I have been getting calls from my friends and Javi's family that I am making a huge mistake. My close friends know that my mom used to be a sex worker, but mutual friends of mine and Javi do not know about it. So, they are also questioning me if I ever did that. Javi did apologize. He said he got carried away by his emotions and he loves me. NGL, I love him too. I wanted to get past all of this. I know people have told me that I should not get married to this guy. But I was weak for a moment. Until he told me that he is willing to let things go and start anew if my mom does not attend any wedding functions. I was shocked. Weddings are a big deal in our culture. There are many functions and parties surrounding the wedding. How can he ask that I not involve my mom? He told me that because of my mom's past it would be difficult for his family members to be around her. He convinced his mom with difficulty about this engagement. Also, since his uncle is going to be there, it will only remind him of bad things. At that moment I realized that I was never a consideration. It was always him and making his family happy. My family is beneath them because we are not from a respectable background and come from homes of sex workers. I stood firm and told him no, it is not going to happen. I will not give in to their demands because the way I see it, my mom did not do anything wrong. It is funny how quickly people will judge a woman based on her work that she had to do to feed her kids, but no one will come forward to help her in time of her need. Javi threatened that I am making a huge mistake by letting him go. I just left. I do not have the energy to deal with it. I think this news is spreading like wildfire now. I may have to move out of the city because if this news reaches my workplace, I know damn well people will ostracize me. So, I might look for a job in a different area. Lastly, I messaged him saying I am sorry for not telling him earlier about my mom, but I loved him a lot. I am sad that he chose this topic to ruin a 6-year-old relationship. I will be going to the bank and pay back the money he paid for my brother's education. I am still crying and jilted to say the least. Also, I saw that my post was shared in different religious groups bashing my mom, saying that I deserved it. Well, let me tell you religious fanatics that most men who claim to be religious are not at all. My mom had many clients who claimed to be religious, including pastors and preachers. So please, before blaming my mom, look inside your house and your family. You might find chameleons hiding within your family too. Edit. People who are asking why I am paying him back, it is because I don't want him to use it as an excuse to call me a gold digger who used him for his money. I don't want to be in his debt. Comment 1. So why is his uncle allowed to be there? He cheated on his marriage and he gets off scot-free, but your mom is a villain? Make it make sense. Comment 2. You're the idiot. You misled Javi, kept him in the dark about something that could directly affect him and his family's dynamics. You may not see your mother's past as a big deal, but clearly, it had significant implications for his family. He was harsh in his reaction, no doubt, but he felt deceived, and his feelings are valid. He even offered you a solution to move past this, by asking your mom not to attend the wedding, which is reasonable given the circumstances and the hurt your mother indirectly caused to his family. You are choosing your past over your future and refusing to compromise in an extremely complex situation. Sometimes, we have to make tough choices to save relationships. Not to mention, you're completely absolving your mother from any responsibility. Javi has a right to know the truth about his future family. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for not wanting to live with brother-in-law anymore? My husband, male 32, and I have been married for 2 years. His dad and stepmom are going through an ugly divorce, so his half-brother, male 17, has moved in with us to live for a year till he starts college. My husband loves his brother, treats him like a little kid and is overprotective of him. I find brother-in-law's behavior obnoxious, and we are having too many arguments over this. He's been with us for only a month and a half and I can't stand it, and I really don't think I can put up with it for a year. It started off with him making messes and throwing away leftovers. Since I do most of the cooking and cleaning, it was increasing my workload. My husband's list of chores have not increased by his presence, so he was dismissive of my complaints. Since my husband wasn't saying anything, I tried telling him to pick up after himself. Brother-in-law retaliated by spanking my butt. Anytime I tell him to do something, he hits my butt hard and laughs. Husband told him to knock it off, but he keeps doing it, and husband treats it as if he's just playing around, no big deal. Not only is it very disrespectful, but it's really painful. After that, he started randomly picking me up and carrying me around. I am a little over 5 feet and 120 pounds, and he's a tall, stocky guy. I hate it, and my husband just thinks he's goofing around and trying to be friends with me. I work from home, and the other day when it was just him and me in the house, he picked me up and ran with me to my bedroom and threw me on the bed. It really scared me, but he just laughed at me and left. Husband thinks I am being dramatic by being scared by this. I feel like his behavior is escalating, but my husband tells me to act like an adult and not blow up over a kid's playfulness. I am anxious every day, and I am seriously thinking of moving out, though it'll be difficult to afford it. Am I the idiot for telling my husband that I don't feel safe in our home? ETA. Thank you so much for your comments and validating me. My husband had me confused and believing that I was overreacting. I am so relieved to hear from so many people that this is as dangerous and bad as I feel. I have packed a bag in my car and some important belongings and documents. I am female 29, for those who asked. I forgot to put that in my post. I called and talked to mother-in-law early in the morning. She's always been very nice to me, and at my wedding she told me she thinks of me as her daughter. My mom passed away when I was young and I don't have any siblings, so that has moved me very much. I was nervous about talking to her because I didn't want to ruin that relationship, but she was so shocked when she heard the details. She said she talked to my husband and father-in-law and this was an unacceptable situation, and told me to come stay with her till it got resolved. Brother-in-law is out with his friends till tomorrow for 4th of July, so it gives me some time to have one more detailed discussion with my husband. I am also going to show him this Reddit post, and hopefully his mom's talk and these comments will be a wake-up call. Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. Put your foot down. No. You are still nearly newlyweds, and your marriage is important. Have another sterner talk to your husband about how it's impacting you. Ultimately, it's up to you, but if my husband dismissed my feelings and concerns for someone else who isn't his child, it would raise a red flag for me. 17 years old is not a kid in regards to behavior. This teen is pushing you and laughing that your husband is on his side more than yours. It comes across as juvenile dominance behavior. Comment 2. I understand the parents are divorcing, but why does that mean that either one can parent their kid? I don't know any divorced parents who unloaded their children on a third party when they divorced. Then the original poster responded with, they are selling their house and film is in an apartment, and Steppenmile is currently staying with her sister. Brother-in-law chose to stay with us because it's close to his current school. It seemed okay for him to live with us for a year, and though I knew he was quite spoiled, I wasn't expecting this. Now for the update. I am very appreciative of everyone who commented on my last post and gave me encouragement. I won't be able to respond at all, but I appreciate it. I wasn't able to resolve this issue with my husband and I have moved out. I am trying to come to terms with the fact that this is the end of my marriage. My mother-in-law was on my side and talked to my husband about this situation, but he got more annoyed with me because he saw this as me creating more drama between mother-in-law and father-in-law and causing old grievances to rise. I showed him the Reddit post I made in the comments, and he accused me of presenting things in a lurid manner to get people on my side. He didn't even read all the discussions, just got enraged and closed the tab. Mother-in-law also talked to father-in-law, who came down on brother-in-law about his behavior. Father-in-law told brother-in-law to leave our house and move in with him. Brother-in-law refused, saying he wants to stay with my husband. My husband came up with the solution that brother-in-law was to stay in his room and I should stay in my bedroom, lock the door, and not get out till he got home from work. This pissed me off more. I had packed a bag and my documents thinking of leaving anyway. Father-in-law talked to me and said that he doesn't like that we aren't getting along and brother-in-law will no longer stay with us. But the next day brother-in-law came into the house with a group of his friends. I simply grabbed my laptop and left. I am so grateful to the people who had suggested that I be packed and ready to go. I already had everything in my car and could leave with what I needed immediately. I am staying with mother-in-law now. She is flabbergasted by my husband, who's told her that he'll never ask a close family member to leave his house. It is clear that my husband doesn't even like me, much less care about me at all. He hasn't spoken to me since I left. I am trying to figure out what I should do next. I obviously can't stay with mother-in-law for long, especially since I need to start the divorce process. I could move back in with my dad, but he lives in another state, and that'll make things hard. I don't have any savings and I am short on money. The majority of my paycheck goes into half of the mortgage and utilities on our house. We have a combined joint account. I have been foolishly spending a lot on decorating the house instead of saving up, and I suppose all that is gone now. I need to figure out my money situation so I can support myself. Comment 1. Thanks for the update. I'm glad you didn't let this situation go on any longer, and that you had the courage to get out of the marriage when you realized you had a husband problem. You're young and you have a new and better beginning ahead of you. I like your parents-in-law. How did they raise such crappy sons? Then the original poster responded with, Mother-in-law has been amazing, but she didn't raise brother-in-law. That's the father-in-law's son from his second marriage. And father-in-law, well, I think it's good that he told brother-in-law to leave, but he was dismissive of the issue itself, acting like it was a bit of a spat between us. Comment 2. Glad you left. Make sure you get a new bank account and don't put your paycheck into the joint one anymore. Your soon-to-be ex-husband can pay the mortgage and the bills. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day. Am I the idiot for not wanting to contact my son after she was the one who abandoned me? And buckle up because this story takes a crazy turn at the end. I, female 45, have a son from my previous marriage. I got pregnant way too young at the age of 20 from my high school sweetheart, David, 45M. We got married at the age of 22 after we graduated college. David was rich, he didn't want me to work, so I was just a housewife. My son was the apple of my eye. I gave everything to him. He was my world. He and I were really close, and I never had a doubt in my mind that I would not be alone in this world as long as I have him. That is until 10 years ago, I found out that my husband was cheating on me with a young colleague of his. And what is worse is that my 15-year-old son knew about it. He hid the affair from me. Imagine how broken I was. I was betrayed by two people I care most about in this world. I asked him why he did that. Why did he hurt me? His response was that his dad told him not to. He bought him gifts to keep his mouth shut. And having a young stepmom made him popular amongst kids. I was totally blindsided when I learned my husband took my little boy to meet that woman. They made excuses that they went on a ski trip and they took his mistress with them. I felt like a fool at that time. In the divorce ruling, my son chose my ex over me. I was heartbroken. My son didn't even want to visit me after it was all done. I even tried to reach out to him once he turned 18. But he just refused. At that point I gave up and went on with my life. I would still get sad over the years wondering how he was doing. I did move on and met someone who is a single father of 2 girls. I married him, and a few days after our wedding I got pregnant again. The pregnancy was a nightmare. I wanted to meet my son and tell him he is going to be a brother to a baby girl. The labor was painful. I almost died on the spot after giving birth to my daughter. I still wanted to meet my son, but I knew he did not want to see me, so I just gave up the idea. Over the years, the memories of him just became vague as I immersed myself into my new family. A week ago, I got a series of messages from him on my Facebook. He said that he missed me a lot and wants to meet up with me. It took me by surprise. Over the last 10 years he has not contacted me. Now he wants to see me? Why? I have been going over every possible reason. The worst part is that I do not feel excited about it. As a mother I know I should be over the moon, but I am not. My parents and husband know that. They have been pushing me to meet him. They say I need closure, after all he is my son. But I don't know if I want to relive the same trauma, so am I wrong? Edit. I am sorry for the mistake in my title. I wrote she instead of he. Edit. Wow, I never thought it would get this amount of response. But thanks. I will give an official update on this. But now I am in conflict. If I do meet him, I won't call him to my house. Maybe a public place. I am not sure if he wants something, but I will be cautious of that. Another edit. Thank you guys for all the support. I decided to meet him today, but I am taking my husband with me. He will not be with us, but he will watch us from a distance. For those of you who called me a neglectful mother who never tried to reach out to him, well, I hope you never have to experience what it's like to be rejected and lied to by your own boy. I know a lot of you will justify it by saying he was only 15, but a betrayal is still a betrayal. But yeah, I will be keeping my distance. Now for a few comments before the update. You are not wrong for being hesitant. Opening yourself up to the possibility of being betrayed again has to be scary. You seem to be in a good place in your life now. Only you can decide the best course forward. The people who love you are pushing for this reunion because they likely think that a mother having their child in their life is always the best course. However, sometimes regardless of blood relation, certain people are not good for you. It will be hard for others to understand because they didn't experience your heartbreak. There is no right or wrong decision. Do what is best for your mental health. You could even decide to pause on a decision and tell him you need more time. I'm saddened that you experienced this level of pain. I wish you well. Then the original poster responded with, I am inclined more towards not going, but I have yet to make a final decision. Comment 2. I have to bet the dad had been poisoning him against you, and now he has realized such and wants to make his own decisions. Not the idiot. I get why you feel the way you do. I have just been in his shoes before, so it's worth a shot to give him a shot. Then the original poster responded with, could be. I tried to reach out to him and tell him that his dad must be poisoning him. But he didn't listen. I just gave up waiting. Now for the update. A lot of you have been requesting me for an update. I finally met my son after so many years. He was not a boy anymore. He was a man. He looked taller than I remember. So anyways, I will give an update. I read your comments. Some of you gave me some good suggestions. I prepared myself for any possible outcome. He could be there to meet me and tell me about his life, or maybe reconcile. Or maybe he wants something. Regardless of what it is, I am keeping my guards up. I asked him to meet me in a public park. I asked my husband to be somewhere near so he could see me. My son came 5 minutes after I arrived. He was all grown up. I won't lie, I wanted to cry at that spot but held my composure. He said hi to me and I smiled. I commented that he has grown up and looks really nice. He just nodded. We sat down and it was silent. I was expecting him to say something at first, but I finally asked what he was up to these days. He told me he is doing fine. He just finished college and is going to apply for grad school. I said that is great. Then it was awkward silence again. He broke the silence and said, You must be wondering why I contacted you. I replied, For 10 years you haven't tried to contact me, but why now? I cannot help but wonder why you are trying to contact me when you told me years ago you don't want me near you because I embarrass you. His face got serious and he said, I know that, but I need something from you. A lot of you suggested he must be here to ask me for money. Well, you guys were right. He asked me for money and the amount was $20,000. He said he needed the money because he wants to go to law school and his father can't afford it because he lost a lot of his money a few years ago due to a loss on his business, and his company was bankrupt. He also had 3 more kids with his mistress wife. That's why they do not have money for him to go to grad school. It just sank my heart. After 10 years I was finally meeting him. I was hoping that we could reconcile and he would understand what I have been through, or maybe my husband was lying to him. But no, he just wants money from me. I told him I cannot give him money, not such a huge amount. He got defensive and kept saying why not? And then he asked, Is this about Dad's affair? Geez, when will you get over it? I asked him, Why do you hate me? What have I done to deserve your hatred? Have I ever raised my voice? Have I ever hit you or said no to you? Then why? You always pushed me away when I tried to get closer to you. Why and what did I do to deserve it? He took a deep breath and said, You don't understand, Mom. You really expected me to come with you? You had nothing. At least my dad could afford the lifestyle I wanted, and my friends actually like Carla, his stepmom. Everything was fine until you discovered his affair and my deal with Dad. I get it, you didn't hit me or scold me, but you were not able to afford the life I wanted. I asked him if he really thinks his father's affair was actually the best way for any of us. I sacrificed a lot for him, and yet he chose someone who he only met when he was 14. He said he doesn't want to talk about that because it was so many years ago and I should just drop it. I asked him why didn't he ever try to visit me. I even asked if it was his dad who tried to stop him, or any other reason, or is it something I did. I tried to reach out to him multiple times, but he never answered or tried to be there. I gave him space because I thought he was coping with the divorce too. He yelled at me that I was really annoying. His dad didn't stop him. It was he who didn't want to meet me because I lived in a small apartment with only 2 bedrooms. He hated living in a place like that. And he ignored me on his 18th birthday because the gift I had for him was pretty cheap and stale compared to what his dad and other people gave him. I agree. My gift was a box of his favorite cookies and an old vintage watch. I was struggling a lot at that time, so I couldn't afford to buy him expensive stuff. But does that mean he should have ignored me like that? I had enough of it. I told him strictly that I will not be giving him money. I have spent years wondering where he is and how he is doing. He is still very disrespectful towards me. Throughout our whole conversation, he didn't even ask how I was. He just went straight to money. I was here hoping that we could move on. He had no idea how much of a mess I was when I learned the man I loved so much would betray me, and then my own son would lie to me for him. I thought we had a special bond. My head has been going through a lot of conclusions. Maybe his dad was lying to him about me. Maybe he was mad about something I did. But now I have the picture. I do not want to be his ATM. I wanted to be his mother even when he rejected me. I'm tired of feeling rejected and getting mistreated and taken for granted. He kept saying and getting even more defensive that I cannot do this to him. I am ruining his life. I told him no, I cannot trust him to give so much money. He told me to cut the BS because he knew I have money now, I can easily give him some. I told him no again and again. He at one point stood up and blamed me and screaming that I am ruining his life, that I owe it to him. I called my husband and he rushed towards me to keep my son away from me. I know now I should have trusted my instincts. I cried a lot when I came home. I lost him forever. I know a lot of you will call me a bad mother. You will call me a narcissist. But I am sorry. I have spent a lot of time in therapy to get over the pain of losing my husband and son. I cannot have him in my life only to be used as an ATM. Even if I gave him the money, there is no guarantee that after getting the money he will not ghost me or push me away, and then when the money runs out he will come to me again to ask for more. I cannot go through the similar pain. I may be able to forgive him for what he said to me, but I don't think I will ever forget what he said. He hated me because I had no money. I would have been fine with weekly visits from him, but he never even wanted that. Additionally, I discovered during our conversation that he was the first one to find out that my husband was having an affair, and he asked his dad to buy him a new phone in exchange for not telling me. I lost. That's all I have as an update. I am sorry if there were any mistakes. It is hard to write and form sentences and put all of it in a few words. And no, his birthday was not the only time I reached out like many of you assumed. I tried to reach out to him before that many times. He said he didn't want to or had other excuses. I respected his decision and didn't bother him much. I finally gave up trying when he was 18, but I still checked his social media for quite a while until I gave that up too. Edit. Thank you so much for all the support. I am by no means a perfect mom, but I tried my best. Also, as much as I am hurt by his actions that day, I still hope he learns some adult responsibilities and becomes a more mature person. With that being said, I hardly think I have energy to consider reconciling in future, even if he comes and says sorry. It was already too much for me to be there yesterday just to be humiliated again. Comment 1. Your son is deranged. Comment 2. Honestly, you're absolutely the idiot here. Here's the thing, your son was a teenager in a difficult situation. Instead of understanding that and reaching out more, you chose to cut ties and replace him with a new family. You are his mother, you should have tried harder, should have fought for him, even when he was a brat. How do you think a 15-year-old child is supposed to handle such adult situations? He was manipulated by his father, and instead of taking care of him and providing a loving environment, you opted out. And now, he's reaching out to you for help, but instead of seizing the opportunity to rebuild a bond, you're rejecting him because he only wants money. Education is essential, money isn't. He's struggling to get an education, that's why he asked for help. Maybe this could have been a chance for you two to start anew. He's still your son. Comment 3. Oh my God. OP, I am so sorry. If anyone thinks you're a bad mother, they're out of their minds. Clearly your ex made his mark on your son. I'm glad you won't be tortured by the what ifs. But I'm so sorry it ended up this way. Hug your family tight. They'll be with you through this. Sending you hugs? Comment 4. Your son is a terrible and shallow person. You are not a bad mother, you are literally the opposite. You didn't lose your son. You lost someone who didn't care about you, and only cared about what was best for him. He lost someone who truly loved him. I am so sorry you had to go through this pain. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day. Am I the idiot for wanting to leave my boyfriend for something his parents said? So, I am 26, female, black, and my boyfriend 32, male, white, have been dating for about 5 months now, and he is honestly the best thing that ever happened to me. He is the first guy who's ever made me consider marriage and starting a family. I did love him. Now to the story. Last weekend was his mom's 60th birthday and my boyfriend was gonna go to the birthday party. He thought it would be a nice occasion for him to introduce me to his family, so he asked me to join him. We let his family know that he was bringing me, and they were okay with it. His parents' place is 3 hours away from the city we live in, so we decided that we were gonna spend the night. So, we arrived at his parents' place and his mom, dad, brother and sister were there. They hugged me while greeting me and I honestly thought they were genuinely happy to meet me. It didn't feel like anything was off. They all seemed like nice people. So we spent the evening talking, and there was a lot of laughter, and everything was going great. At around 8 p.m., my boyfriend and his brother leave for the airport to pick up a relative of theirs who was flying in for the party. So I'm left at the house with his mom, dad and sister. I didn't feel unsafe or anything. They had been nice to me the whole time. I had left my phone charging in the room we were gonna sleep in, so I excused myself to go check if I had any important messages or calls. There weren't any, so it didn't take long. I start heading back to the living room, and as I'm walking back, I hear them talking. Then his mom asks, "So, what do you think about her?" I immediately knew they were talking about me, and I honestly wanted to know what my potential in-laws thought about me, so I stopped and listened. His dad says, "She's nice." His sister agrees with him and adds, "She's pretty too." Then his mom said something that immediately made me sick to my stomach. She says, "Yeah, if only she wasn't a foo **** king N-word." And they all agreed with her. My heart dropped. I tiptoed back to the room and I sat there so confused. I was shaking so much I didn't know what to do. I wanted to call my boyfriend, but I had a weird feeling, so I didn't. I felt so alone and unsafe. I felt like I couldn't trust anyone around me, not even my boyfriend. I live in Canada and people here are not as open with their racism as in other places, which in my opinion is much more scary. Now at that moment, the only people I could think of asking for help were my sisters. One of my sisters lives in the US, and the other one is in Canada but in a different province. They both live far away, so there is nothing they could have done to help me at that moment, but I felt like they are the only people I could trust. We have a WhatsApp group chat, so I sent them a message telling them what happened. I have lived in Canada for a couple of years, but it's not easy to make trustworthy friends here. Canada is a lonely place. I have met a lot of people, but I don't feel like any of them are my friends. If you are an immigrant in Canada, you probably understand what I mean. Anyway, back to the story. So my sisters were like, "You need to find a way to get out of there immediately." They tell me to make up an excuse saying I had an emergency and needed to leave. I stayed in the room for some time, scared to death. It took everything in me not to start crying. After I had collected my thoughts and calmed down, I did what my sisters told me to do. I hadn't unpacked my bag yet, and luckily, we brought my car because it's fuel efficient compared to my boyfriend's. I took my bag and car keys and passed the living room in a rush, saying something came up and I had to leave. I didn't give them a chance to ask any questions. I just got in my car and drove away. It was getting late, and I wasn't in the right state of mind to drive back home. I just wanted to get as far away as possible before stopping at a hotel for the night. My boyfriend had called me a couple of times. I called him back, but I couldn't bring myself to tell him what had happened, so I gave him the same excuse I gave his parents. He asked if he should come home as well, and I told him it wasn't necessary. I went home the next day and my boyfriend showed up at my apartment a few hours later. I looked at him, and it felt like all the love I had for him had just disappeared. Though I acted like everything was fine, I wondered if he was racist too. He had been so great during our whole relationship. I never once felt like he had any racist thoughts or feelings. But I can't help but think about how his family made me believe they were nice people, and I keep wondering if he's also just pretending to like me. We don't live together, but my lease is ending in July. He owns his place, so I was supposed to move in with him after my lease ended, but I have managed to get out of moving in with him. I don't feel like I love him anymore. It's been 3 days now since we got back from his parents' place, and I want to end things with him without it causing any trouble, but I'm really scared. I want to tell him what happened, but I'm scared of finding out that he's racist as well. I don't know how he's going to react. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but there are so many stories of women getting murdered by their partners, and I'm scared that I could end up killed too. I guess I'm imagining the worst-case scenario, and I'm judging him based on his parents' actions and not his. But I am genuinely scared. Even if he isn't racist, his family is. And if we stay together, no matter how much I try to avoid his family, there are still gonna be situations where I'll have to interact with them, and I don't think I can ever move past what they said. Please help. Now for a few comments before the update. You should talk to him and tell him what his parents said and how it makes you feel. If he cares about you, he'll say/do something to let his family know that language is not acceptable, and that racism is not tolerable. However, you'll always think of what they said, and it may be hard to ignore now that you know what you know. Take some time to figure out if you still want to be in this relationship. Then the original poster responded with, I will talk to him, but I don't think the relationship will survive. He and his family seemed close, so I can't ask him to cut them out of his life, and I don't think I can move past what they said. So I don't see how the relationship can survive. Then another commenter said, you should tell him. At least so he knows that if he dates a WOC in the future, he better keep her away from his family. Yeah, it's not your job to educate him. I think it's good to end it by telling him the truth. Comment 2. I'd talk to him first. I'm from the deep south and met my wife after I left home. The first time I brought her home, it totally didn't even occur to me that my family would be unappreciative of me bringing home someone who wasn't white. People aren't their families, but who they choose to make their own family. Now for the update. I couldn't keep up with all the comments, but 99.9% of them said to talk to him, and so I did. He didn't get all defensive or angry. He just listened to what I had to say, and we ended up having a great conversation about it. So, yesterday we went on a coffee date. Things were a little awkward at first, so as soon as we sat down, I just straight up told him what happened. I expressed how much it bothered me that he left me all alone with his racist parents without a warning and how terrified I was. He profusely apologized and said he would talk to them about it, and he swore he had no idea that his parents felt this way about black people. I asked him how he didn't know, yet he grew up in their homes. They raised him, so he surely must have heard some racist comments from them. He explained to me how during his childhood, all the people in his hometown were white. The neighborhoods were all white, the kids in his school were all white, and all his teachers were white. So race wasn't really a topic that ever came up in their home or school or anywhere he went. Everyone was just white. He said his parents have always been very kind-hearted people, and those were the people he thought he was bringing me home to. He didn't think that skin color was something he had to worry about, and it didn't cross his mind that he was bringing a person of color to a place that had only had white people. He was truly apologetic for that, and said he should have known better. Anyway, we kept talking and he told me about the first time he met a POC in real life. He was 19 years old, and he had just moved from his hometown to our city for college. He said he loved meeting people from different places with different cultures and backgrounds, and hearing about all their different experiences, which reminded me of when we first met. I thought he was really weird cause he would ask me all these questions about my culture and home country. He honestly had so many questions, some of which I didn't even know the answers to. I googled the population of his hometown, and according to the 2022 census, 93% of the population is white. So back then, during his childhood, it was probably 100% white. So, I have chosen to believe him because I guess he thought his parents would have been as open-minded as he was. Some of you might not agree with this decision, but I've decided to give him a chance to prove himself before ending things with him. But I pointed out that if he plans to be with me, a black woman, he needs to understand that he cannot turn a blind eye to any discrimination I might face, including discrimination from his own family. I also told him I didn't expect him to cut ties with his family, but it's gonna take a while to salvage my relationship with them and that I'm not yet ready to hear an apology from them. He agreed to this and promised to pay better attention and reassured me that he was on my side. I don't know if he has already spoken to his parents, but this morning I woke up to an apology DM from his sister, and the dots connected. In her message, she stated that she was shocked to hear her mother's words and that she doesn't believe in that. She just agreed with her cause it was her mother, and she didn't know what to do at the moment. His sister is attending college in our city, so I had met her a couple of times before. Like maybe 3 or 4 times, so I'm thinking she was the one who gave their parents the heads up. She and I weren't that close, but the few times we've met, I didn't feel any hint of racism. We were always civil with each other. Anyway, I still haven't responded to her message and I don't think I'm going to for now. I don't even know what to say to her. As for my boyfriend and I believe we and I had a meaningful conversation. I'm still not moving in with him, but I think we might be able to maybe work things out. We might not pick up where we left off, but I know we can get back to where we were if we both put in the work. Comment 1. Glad to see this update, and I hope honest communication can salvage this if it's meant to be salvaged, or to let you get out of this if that is what is needed instead. Comment 2. No idiots here, you're overreacting big time here. These were just some offhand remarks made behind closed doors, no need to be so dramatic about it. And you didn't even give your boyfriend a chance to stand up for you. I mean, how do you know he wouldn't have defended you if he knew what his family said? Instead, you just assumed the worst of him, bolted out of there without explanation, and are now considering breaking up with him because of a few words spoken by his ignorant family. He clearly loves you and sees you as a person, not a color, and it's a shame you're letting prejudice get in the way of a loving relationship. Love is hard enough to find without adding unnecessary complications. Maybe it's time to put your big girl pants on and face the world like an adult. Comment 3. My parents did this too. White people only in our town. I married a brown boy. We don't talk to them anymore. This isn't that uncommon. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.